You've lived through serious addiction. How close did you come to losing everything in your life?
I did lose everything. I literally lost everything in my life. I lost every relationship I've ever had. I lost, I lost every family member. In the end, turned their back on us apart from me dad. But it was right. I've lost 3 businesses, bankrupted them through it. I've lost myself. I've lost my mind through psychosis, and I even lost my life. For like the 5-6 minutes I was dead, and even losing everything, every single one of those rock bottoms, it was never enough to stop us using drugs. After every single thing I've lost, I still went back to sticking a pin in my arm, injecting cocaine, because that's how I'd learned to deal with life. That's how my brain used drugs as a solution to cope. It's not about choice. When addiction takes over, it's not about choice anymore. That's scientifically, medically, and neurologically proven now. An addict doesn't have choice once it takes over the brain. So I lost everything, and it still wasn't enough.
And what was the darkest moment in your life?
Mate, my life was one dark moment, and it was just like, since drugs took over, there's been so many darkest moments. You could talk about when I got kidnapped, tortured for 3 days, had things done that shouldn't be done.
Can you take us back to that moment with the kidnapping and torturing?
Parts of it, mate. There's parts that is right for everything. It's all in me book, but it's like, I put myself in a position, having a fight. I did wrong things in the fight, and I was set up 2 weeks later. I was set up with girls, really. When a club in Pangaea's in London, I was waiting for me mate. 2 Russian girls came over. The Russian Eastern European girls came over. We ended up taking drugs together, partying together all night. And then I went back to their flat. It was a setup from the guy who I had a straight-in with 2 weeks before. And when I got back, my mind wasn't with it. I wasn't noticing things I should notice. All I was interested in was taking drugs and having partying with these girls. And my drugs ran out. They gave us a line of their drugs. I thought it was coke, but it wasn't cocaine. All I remember is waking up upside down, naked, and being I was cable tied and gaffer taped to a metal chair in the floor. And then when you wake up, you start noticing things. You start noticing there's no ornaments around. There's no sofas. It was just literally dining table, chairs, and this one chair, which is the room I'd been tucked into, which was bolted to the floor. And then I had my teeth pulled out. I had pins stuck up inside my nails. Then they were set on fire, set alight, so the pins heated up inside my nails. I was braid. I had a gun shoved in my mouth. That's why I've got veneers. I had a gun shoved inside my mouth, smashing my teeth. I was begging them to pull the trigger, but then, I mean, at the start I was begging for my life, and it soon turned around after the days were going by, and I was begging for them to end my life because I couldn't take it anymore.
How many days have you been tortured?
I was altogether, I was gone for 3 days, and then I was dumped on a street, and that's where I was found. I was took in hospital. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to function again.
They caused that serious damage.
And I was fucked. I was absolutely destroyed. What?
What was the reason for what did you guys fight over?
I was knocking about in a crowd in London. I was knocking about with guys who owned clubs, who owned the doors. I'm not going to sit here and lie and be this nice, sweet, innocent child. I did bad things in my life. I put myself around bad people, around bad situations, and I was involved with the wrong people. and there's always consequence. Every action is a reaction. I shouldn't have done what I did in the fight. I went overboard in the fight I had with one of the East European kids, and it's their reaction's just a lot bigger than the reaction I was expecting, and they made an example of us, and that's the life I was living. That's, if you can't sit and you can't complain about something that was happening to me when I put myself in that position. I put myself around those people. I loved the power of the people I knocked about with at the time, and I can't then sit here and say, oh, poor me. But the thing I didn't take responsibility of, the thing that is my fault, is I let that trauma control the last 15 years of my life before till now. I wouldn't get trauma counselling. I wouldn't admit I was weak. There was very few people who knew about the horrific things that were done, and I couldn't accept it. In my mind, it was just another way I can lose myself more into drugs, and that's what I did for 15 years. I lost myself more and more and more, and I even went to the point where, like, I wouldn't allow my mum or dad to get his help. I couldn't accept certain things that were done. So I relived that trauma every single day, and the only way to get through that trauma was by using copious amounts of cocaine, and that's what I did.
And at that point, did you think there was any way out?
Not for me trauma. My mind, I've suffered from mental illness obviously in my full life, but once the voices are in your head, once they're in, I was using a solution of drugs to calm the voices down in my head, which had worked in the past for just the normal voices in my head. But what I didn't realise is it was the drugs was putting a cage around, as a prison around my mind that much. I listened to the drugs. I'd convinced myself that drugs was the only solution to my trauma. I convinced myself that drugs was a solution to everything. I didn't used to take drugs to go out partying. I didn't take drugs because I was happy. I didn't take drugs because it was this event or that event. I took drugs on every single emotion, whether I was happy, whether I was sad, whether I was depressed, whether I was upset. It was every single emotion I used drugs from, every single experience in life. I needed drugs to go out to a restaurant. I needed drugs to go out on a night out. I needed drugs to go to the gym. I needed drugs to just stay in the house. I was a 24/7 user. I could not live in my own mind. I could not function without cocaine in my system. And but the drugs convinced us. And this is one of the biggest sayings what people to. Addiction's the only disease in the world that convinces you haven't got it. And although the disease of addiction has got nothing to do with drugs, drugs are just the solution, one of the solutions used. I convinced myself I didn't have a drug problem. And this is the insanity of the disease of addiction. Everyone else can see what's happening to you, but you can't see what's happening to yourself.
And the trauma you experienced from that kidnapping and torture, do you still struggle with that today, or have you made peace with it? Have you forgiven them?
Oh no, I'll never forget, but I've accepted it now, and I was only able to do that after severe CAT therapy. It's like cognitive analytic therapy. It's severe trauma therapy, and I needed to go through that to be able to deal with it. But I've accepted it today. I've forgiven myself for it today, my part in it, and I can live a normal life today. But it's the intensity of how much trauma, mental health, and addiction is linked nowadays. Very rarely you get one without the other.
And what was life like before the drugs came into it?
Mate, I loved life. I just didn't understand it. I struggled with life, with normal emotions. I struggled with mental health. But when I was a kid, there wasn't such a thing as like ADHD, or you've got this or you've got that, or I was just looked at as like oversensitive, over emotional. I was told to slow down, to calm down. I never got tired. I was just hyper alert. All these emotions in my head I couldn't control. But life was great. I had an amazing family. I honestly I had a great upbringing. I had good friends around us when I was kids growing up. I had no bad experiences growing up as a kid. But my mind, I never knew who I was. I couldn't, like, everyone knew who they were. Everyone knew who they were inside. Everyone knew who they wanted to be. Everyone knew the friends they wanted to knock about with. I was just I was lost. I couldn't sit in my own mind. I couldn't relax. I didn't know who I was, so I put these masks on from the age of 5, 6. I wore masks for different people, for different occasions, all over the place. And I used these masks to just navigate through life. And it was like literally watching a film on my own life, and I had no control about it. I had voices in my head all the time. Just from paranoia from a kid, anxiety as a kid, that always told in my own head that I wasn't good enough. I hated the skin that I was living in. I used to, if we were going to just school discos as a kid, I would be up and down the stairs, trying every single different new outfit on me mum and dad would get us to, because I didn't feel comfortable. So I used clothes or designer gear to make myself feel better. But because nothing felt good when I put them on, I wanted to just cut my own skin off, because I hated looking in the mirror. I hated the way I looked. But so I put a mask on of ego, of bullshit, because I learned that if I put a mask of ego on and then I showed I was confident, people wouldn't see how self-aware I was, or how upset I was, or how much I hated myself. People wouldn't see that. They would watch the mask. So I had to put on a bigger show I could, full of confidence, full of bullshit, so then people wouldn't see the real me, who was petrified of life.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
So that's what I did all through my childhood. I lived a life whatever everyone expected of us or wanted of us, because I didn't know who I was.
And was there any warning signs that things were heading that way to drug abuse?
No, mate. Drugs isn't my problem. I'm fucking into taking drugs. My problem was life. And I struggled with life from a young age, but there was no awareness about this as growing up. You were just told, man up, go outside. There was nothing about mental health in them days, but there was so many signs. It's just, and this is no fault. I had amazing parents, but looking back now, like me, my mum, obviously my mum does a lot of work around addiction, like with families of addiction now, and families of addicts. And but looking back now, my mum could see all these signs and all these like signals when I was a kid. But in them days, you didn't know about it. There was no awareness. There was no mental health teams going around. All you got back then was if you went crazy, you got sectioned. And but now, this is how things have to change now. But the signs were all there. It's just no one saw them because they weren't aware of them.
And how quickly did it go from just experimenting to full-blown addiction?
I never. This is the thing what people don't understand about, like, the addiction is, even as a kid I used addiction. I just had a different solution. So addiction is not the drugs. The drugs are a solution. So addiction is a disease of the brain. It's when the dopamine levels, through something, it could be one of the solutions, go past the natural stages of the brain, and the receptors don't produce the reward system anymore. So it's I was teaching myself to use different solutions as a kid. So I used to train every single night after school from the age of 6. My dad took us to Newcastle training every single night. I was always messing about at school. I was always told that I was lazy. I was always told that I was never putting things to the front, what I should be putting to the front. I should be studying more. I should be enjoying it more. All I was interested in was training on the night time. And I used that to get through life. Messing about at school to just so I could train on the night time. But then when I was 13-year-old and I lost my virginity, I had like a little switch of using another solution to take everything away from life and away from me. So I'd use girls. From the age of 13, I would focus on a girl, and then I would want multiple girls from a young age, and it was just because I was so scared of people seeing me. I was so scared of having to sit in my own head. So they were all the early signs, but I never touched a drug till I was 20-year-old. I hated drugs. To be honest, I'll tell you the truth here. I looked at people who took drugs when I was 20-year-old. I looked down on people who took drugs. I thought they were the scum of the earth because I didn't have no awareness. I didn't have no knowledge about what it was about. I thought it was only people like gangsters or homeless people or bums or people like that. And I used to look down on people who took drugs because I never thought I'd be someone who took drugs. But when I took my first drug, it spiraled insanely quickly.
What was your first drug?
Line of cocaine. It was for a girl who I was with at the time. I'd just done a TV show, and I met her on a TV show, and then we came back. We got engaged quickly, fella. Thought we were in love, but it was just lust. It was just like a little obsession with each other. Got engaged, and we both got offered contracts in London, so we moved to London, and it was a night out, and I don't really drink a lot of alcohol. It wasn't my thing. I got drunk too quickly. I got arrested. Always got in trouble. I got arrested, so I kept away from alcohol. But when I heard about this cocaine, I got sold it. Like, I don't mean it sold in money ways. I mean, I got like sold it to take it, and it was just like, it gives you more confidence. It makes you aware of everything around you. It makes you like feel good about yourself. You don't get tired. You want to just party all night. Sex is great on it, and all this. I was like, shit, because I was so insecure in myself. And when I heard it, it was the confidence thing. It was like, if you take this drug, it will make you feel like alive. It will make you feel like you can do anything in the world. And when I took it, it did everything it said on the tin. It did everything.
And how long did that feeling last for?
The first time I took it, I couldn't understand. I didn't want to stop. I took the drug, and we were partying all night, and obviously it was line after line after line. And as soon as I had another line, the first time I took drugs, it was the best feeling ever. I got high, loved life. It was a great party. But this is what everyone talks about. You never ever get that feeling again. You're always chasing your first high. You never ever get that first high. It doesn't matter what you take, you never get that same as that first high. I was always chasing it, but it was literally like the biggest, best, warmest hug in the world of confidence and ego and like love I'd ever felt in my life, and I loved it. And that's what the disease of addiction does. It gets you. You fall in love with the solution to what your problem is, which mine was life. I couldn't live life on life's terms. I couldn't function normally. And when I took cocaine, it just made life make sense. And that's the best way I can put it. Life made sense to us when I was on cocaine. Everyone takes cocaine or their drug of choice to get high or to get smashed off the tits. I took cocaine to feel normal. It wasn't a high for me. The first night was, but anything after that, it was literally just, I could feel normal. And that's the insanity of the drug.
And what does addiction actually feel like day to day?
All I can talk about is my truth. My truth, the disease of addiction, is just, I used against my will. I hated taking drugs. I hated everything around drugs. I could see what drugs did to me. I could see what drugs did to my family. I could see what drugs did to anything I touched. It destroyed everything. But your choice is actually removed. And this isn't the best. Now, this is not opinion anymore. People say, oh, you've got use self-will, or you can just stop, or you're choosing to use. It's not opinion anymore, it's fact. It's neurological and it's medical fact now. Your choice is removed. The part of your brain that's responsible for reward, that's responsible for consequences, that's responsible for love, that is actually removed now. You don't produce dopamine anymore once you start taking drugs. Once you start,
Is it permanently or does it
no,
come back?
it can come back, but it takes time. But you can't. The intensity of dopamine when you take a line of coke or when you take your drug of choice, it's not natural. It's like 100 times to 1,000 times, depending on the amount you use or the drug you use, that your brain can cope with. So it kills off the reward system. It kills off the receptors, and it stops them producing dopamine again. They don't have a natural high anymore. You have the biggest intense of dopamine to the reward systems of your brain. So once you've had that, your body doesn't produce it anymore, and it takes up. It can start come back after 3 months, but it normally takes up to about a year for your body to start producing dopamine again.
Wow.
But it can come back, but it needs abstinence completely.
Now, what were you trying to escape from when you were using?
Life. I couldn't cope with life. Everything. I couldn't cope with me head. I couldn't cope with the normal life.
And you say it helped for a little bit.
It helped with everything. It made us feel more confident. It made us feel not alone. I could stand in the busiest nightclub before I took drugs. I could stand there, and it could be the biggest nightclub. It could be the busiest. I could have all my friends around at the time, and I would still feel alone because my head just didn't work. My head didn't function like a normal head. And this is where awareness of mental health has to come in. It has to be more made about. That's why I will always share my darkest secrets. I will share about the darkest times in my life. I will share about how bad my drug use got. I will share about these, so then it will make other people not feel alone.
So what did drugs give you that real life didn't give you?
All drugs gave us was a way to cope with life. My head didn't work like a normal person. My mental health was that gone. Drugs just gave us a fake bullshit of love. It gave us everything drugs gave us was bullshit. It was all fake, and it was all borrowed from my future. So I say it in a way, so like, drugs would give you happiness, drugs would give you love, drugs would give you confidence, drugs will give you this false ego. But what it does is it borrows it from the future, then it just comes back and it destroys your life. It pretends to be your best friend, it pretends to be your family, it pretends to be the only thing that works for you. But what it's doing is it's creating a prison around your mind. And then it's not just creating a prison around my mind as an individual, it's creating a prison around my full family. They're watching the person they love more than anything else in the world destroy themselves, and they don't know why. They try everything. My family tried everything, from loving us, from helping us with businesses, from putting us through like 5 private rehabs, to supporting us in different, like having new starts in different areas, different countries. I was supported in everything I did in life, but nothing gave us the love that cocaine pretended to give us.
And did you feel in control at any point, or did you feel completely trapped?
I felt in control. The first 5 years of me using, when I was just sniffing cocaine, I felt in control. I was probably in control the first month, and then it was just like a fake bravado, a fake bullshit. It was letting us feel in control. It was letting us feel as though, oh, I'll just stop for now. While I was taking cocaine, there was moments when I would stop, but then it was just because I either ran out of money, or I was that high I needed to come down. It's the progression of the drug as well. Once your body builds up a tolerance, you need something more, because your body's built up the tolerance with cocaine. So obviously you start off, and see if you start off like £100 bag for a night out, and then it's not anymore, and then you go for longer, and then you need more drugs, and then before you know it, you're spending thousands of pounds a week on just sniffing. Your nose can't take that much. The brain can't take that much. So you look for something more. When you're in the drug world, when you're knocking about the people who take you, you're knocking about doing the things you're doing to get the drugs. When you're doing all that, your life becomes so chaotic. You have underlying trauma. You start the nastiness you'll do, the manipulation, the lying, the cheating to get the money for the drugs. Because I don't care how much money you've got. I don't care if you've got a successful business making a fortune. Doesn't matter what you've got. When addiction takes over your brain, when your choice is removed, you'll spend every single penny. But then your body gets used to it. So sniffing cocaine was just, it stopped working. It didn't do the job it did. My job was to quiet my head, to quiet the voices in my head, to feel confident, to not feel alone, to stop feeling insecure, to not be depressed, to not be anxious. And it stopped working. That's when I started taking crack.
So what was your lowest point during your addiction?
I mean, I've had that many low points. You could talk about when I was kidnapped, you could talk about when I died. For me, it wasn't, it sounds crazy, but it wasn't that bad for me. I was high as a kite. I remember I was getting enough white and brown to use to mix in a snowball to do a hit to end it. I used to cry that many times. Like I used to cry about, oh, I'm going to kill myself. It was all cry for help. I used to pretend like, oh, I'm going to kill myself to get attention because the drugs weren't working. I needed attention and love of people. I needed to feel wanted. I needed to feel liked. So I used to cry. I used to pretend that many times I was going to kill myself. But when I did actually end it, was I didn't tell anybody. I did it by myself, alone. I was just, well, I'm fortunate now my dad was there, but at the time I was unfortunate. I didn't know anyone was there. So I went upstairs, hit the drugs, hit the snowball. I remember looking up at the fucking sky, because I don't know what I believe in yet, but I remember looking at the sky saying, fuck you, God. And I did a £100 snowball. And that's all I remember.
Wow.
It went quiet for a bit, and I remember waking up in hospital. I remember looking down on the bed. I remember hearing a bleep. And I remember there was a nurse at the bottom of my bed, like on a chair, not on the bottom of my bed, but at the bottom of my bed. And I remember saying, do you know where you are? And I was like, I can't remember the exact conversation. It was like, do you know where you are? And I was like, I couldn't remember. I didn't have a clue. And I was out again. And then when I came round, but what I do remember is the words, you took an overdose. And I remember hearing, you're an addict. And as soon as I heard those words, I just wanted to fucking use again. I didn't know why I was there, and it took us. I can hear it beeping. I was ripped up the machines everywhere, and all I know is I wanted me drug. I wanted to inject more cocaine into my vein. That's all I want to remember. Everything came back, intensity, the voices, everything. So it was, but I'd been in an induced coma for 6 days. I didn't go through any pain. It was my family. It was my mum and my dad. My mum, my dad and my stepdad. They're the ones who had been around trying to help us. They're the ones who went through all the pain. I was unconscious in a coma. It wasn't that bad. I can't remember a single thing. So that wasn't bad for me, but it was bad for everybody around us.
And when you died, was there any, you didn't see anything or hear any voices or black or nothing? It's just
I remember
gone.
looking at God, whatever it is. I remember saying, I use the term God. I don't know what I believe in because I haven't seen it. I need evidence, me. And it's like, but I remember looking at the sky saying, fuck you, God. And I stuck it in. And I remember waking up in hospital and wanting more drugs. That's as far as it got for me. But the reason I ended my life is because I couldn't stop using. I could see the pain I was causing everyone around us. My mum was in and out of hospital all the time through stress. My dad wanted to go around killing everyone because he couldn't see what I was doing myself. Every single thing I touched, I destroyed. I'd bankrupt 3 businesses. I'd used hundreds and thousands of pounds of my mum's money, all of my money I'd had. I'd used hundreds of thousands of pounds of my dad's. I used every single around us. My disease just destroyed. I couldn't take life anymore. I loved my parents so much. And my mum, my dad, my stepdad, I loved them all that much. But I couldn't stop. I used to, when I used to inject cocaine into my vein, which was my worst point I got for drugs, but when I used to inject cocaine, I would do it, I would isolate myself. I've done it around people before, because I can't, if I buy drugs, I can't wait to get home to inject. As soon as I buy the drugs off the dealer, it's going straight in my vein. I need it straight away. But when I'm by myself, I spend 90% of my time on my own injecting. I don't go out partying, sniffing, having lines, social using. I was by myself in my house, injecting cocaine into my vein, seeing things around us, being paranoid, being a nervous wreck. And the only time I had peace was when I had the needle in my arm and when I pulled the syringe back and I saw the blood. For them few seconds before I put the cocaine into my vein, I had peace, because I know the drug's going to give us peace. But before the drug, as soon as the drug hits my vein, I have a few seconds of peace, and then it's all about torment. It was all torment of my brain. Like what we talked about before, depression, anxiety, torture, paranoia, fucking running all around the house, twitching the curtains, thinking everyone's going to come in, thinking the police are going to come in, thinking people are going to come in and kidnap us again, thinking even my family members are going to come around and spoil my fun with my drug. Addiction isolates you. That's when it's got you. When it's pure isolation, just you, your disease, and your solution. So it's me, my addiction, and me drugs, my solution. That was my party, us three, and that was it. It made all the choices for us. Having a severe disease of addiction, when you are totally lost in the disease of addiction, you're the most clever person in the world. It's not like you lose function. You're the most clever person in the world. It's like running a business. It's about having the money you've got, making it last. Then, when the money runs out, seeing where you can get the money from, whether it's off your family, off conning someone, off doing this. And people say, "Oh, I would never con someone." And when I was talking to, I was talking about someone on the post I did the other day, and she was saying, "Oh, I've never stole off anyone. I've never manipulated anyone. I've just used my money, and when my money ran out, I stopped until I got my next payday." For me, that's not the disease of addiction, because medically and scientifically we know your choice is removed. Yet the rewards part of your brain, the survival part of your brain, you have no compassion, you have no empathy, you have no love, you have no, you don't care about consequences. It's in the survival part of your brain. Your choice is removed. Then your brain now looks at drugs. It's the same as your body looks at oxygen. It'll do whatever it can. So when someone can just say, "Oh, I'll stop and wait till I get some more money," that's not addiction for me. That's someone who's had a dependency on the drug, and if they can just stop, then for me it's not the disease of addiction, and that's not my opinion. That's what the neuroscience is talking about now. So it's actually the brain. Decades of brain scans, decades of research has shown the receptors in your brain is not in. It's not in your frontal lobe anymore. It's not in the rear part of your brain where all your choices, where all your emotions are. It's not there anymore. It's took to the survival part of your brain, the caveman part of your brain. The choice is removed. Your brain will do anything to get that drug.
And what did addiction cost you? Like relationships,
Everything.
time, opportunities?
I have been blessed in my life with so many opportunities. I moved to London when I was 20 years old. I did a TV show. I was with So Damn Tough and Store Models in London, and then from there I went to Q Models in New York. I lived in New York for 6 months apart, and I travelled the world. I was given different business opportunities. It doesn't matter what I was given. My disease of addiction took away, because it needs just. It's basically just saying, it's me and you against the world. It's got to keep us alone. I can maybe get away and start doing something, and me ADHD will kick in and be like, I'll try and focus on something, but I'm still taking drugs. I'm still using drugs as my solution. And it doesn't matter what I did in life, doesn't matter where I've went, where I've lived. It's always brought us back to just me and my solution, which is drugs. And that's the part what people don't see. That they see people out partying on drugs, For me, that what me and my solution, me and my drugs was me in a room by myself 90% of the time. I wish I could tell you. I've took drugs at some amazing parties and I've partied all over the world, but that's 10% of my drug use. 90% is just me in a bedroom by myself with a needle, and that's where it takes us.
And was there a moment you felt ashamed of who you become?
The only time I felt shame, when I'm lost in the disease, shame's just it's not a part of me thinking. I can remember moments, because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, oh yeah, I'm so sorry, I'm so shameful. I can remember how shameful I wasn't. I can't. I have flashes of moments. I remember looking at my mum's eye once, and she was broken. I remember crying, begging us, pleading with us, asking us what else she can do to help. She'd already put us through, at the time I think she'd already put us through 4 treatment centres, and should spend a fortune on psychologists, psychotherapists, drug counsellors, drug workers. She spent a fortune on putting us through these private rehabs. But I can remember, it wasn't about all that for me. I remember looking at my mum's eye, and I remember she was begging, and I remember saying, what else can I do to help? And I knew there was fucking nothing. I knew if I went back into rehab, I knew.
So why do rehabs fail? You've been 4 or 5 rehabs. Why? What's the reason people go in rehab and relapse 95% of the time?
So people go into rehab and they get took out of society. And if they've got just the disease of addiction, no mental health, and no trauma, which is very rare, then it's great. It starts off your recovery, but you've got to want it. You can't put an addict into a rehab through shame or force, because the addict's got to want recovery. But when you go into rehab, all was looked at in my rehab. I worked through a 12-step program, and for me, and this is going to piss a lot of people off, and I'll get judged. I couldn't give a shit. I just talk about my truth. For me, the program was wrote in 1939, and it was wrote for alcoholics who were dependent on alcohol. There's nothing about mental health in the steps. There's nothing about trauma in the steps. And I'd worked through the steps. And honestly, 4 times when I went in rehabs, I didn't even bother trying. But the 5th time when I was in rehab, I lived the steps. I lived recovery. I spoke about my trauma, and I went through step 5, talked about with another human, and God as they suggested. Or it doesn't have to be God upstairs, like it's just a power greater than us. But I did all that, and I went on to my character defects in 6 and 7. I was given a list of my character defects, and I was told to turn towards God and ask to have them removed. It didn't remove my trauma. It didn't remove my mental health. I was never given professional trauma therapy. I was never given professional help around my mental health. And so the way trauma works is trauma sits in the survival part of your brain as well, exactly the same place where addiction sits. So if you start managing addiction with a structured recovery plan with connection, with help, then that's great, and it'll last for so long. When I came out of rehab, I would last about a month clean, but my mental health would build up, my trauma would start coming back again, and that's when I would relapse, because my emotions and my impulses would run off of the trauma, which was sitting in the survival part of the brain. It would run there. So without trauma therapy, without professional help, running alongside a structured 12-step program, it would never work for me. And that's why relapse are so low. The relapse rate is so high, and is because of that, in my opinion.
Was there a moment where something finally clicked for you?
I chose recovery for the second time in my life. The first time was before rehab, but the last rehab. But I was in a crack house and I was injecting cocaine, and I was just about to go back home with my fucking big bag of coke and sit by myself for a couple of days injecting. And my mum rang us and she was like, "I'm outside. I know where you are." And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And I was like, "Oh," you just get that panic of, "Fuck!" I was in a state. I knew she didn't. I thought in my head I was hiding it from everyone that was back using again. And I remember, and she says, if you don't come in, she says, I'm coming to the door. And I was like, fucking, she would. She was at a stage now where she'd passed, she didn't care about life anymore. She was just, I destroyed her life that much with my use and my chaos of my life. Had destroyed my own mother's life. She was in and out of hospital all the time and through stress and
Didn't she give you money as well for a nightclub?
that was about 10 years ago. She bought us a nightclub because my manipulation as addict was so good. I'd convinced me mum that if she funded me nightclub, that would give me motivation to stay clean.
Wow.
And she spent a fortune on it. She tried her best. Within 3 months, I turned a beautiful nightclub into a crack den. I would have parties on the night time with people who just wasn't bothered about us, who just used us because of the club, and I got arrested at the club. I'd give away the drink all night just because I didn't want to feel alone. I always felt alone, and I was always trying to buy friends. I was always trying to be the person everyone knocked about with. I would never just open up. I would never show them the true person underneath. It was fucking hard. Do you know what it is? It was hard. It's like on the outs. If you looked at my social media growing up, if you looked at like since MySpace, Facebook, and all this started, if you look from the outside in, you'd look at my life and you'd think, fucking hell, he's had a good life. He's travelled the world. He's been to this party. He's always on holiday. He's always at this party or that party. It looks mint from the outside in. My life was a fucking mess. It was pain. It was chaos. My head never stopped. I was overthinking, then I was underthinking. I was scared of everything. I had fear of everything, and it was just, my life was a mess from the inside out. I couldn't cope with life, mate. I hated life.
So what made you decide to change?
My mum was going to kill herself.
Did she say that to you?
It was fucking hell. Do you know what it is? It was like, I remember coming to see us, and I was gone. I'd been through the 5 rehabs at this point. I'd been sectioned. I was under probation at the time. I was struck off the mental health team because I wasn't turning up. I was getting smashed all the time. I was missing appointments. I wouldn't do the trauma therapy. A probation officer who put her back out. She got us rushed through on getting a counsellor and getting proper trauma help, and I just wasn't taking it seriously. And so they'd struck us off. I was back injecting again. I died in me. The fiancée I've got at the time, I died in her arms again on an overdose. Had a psychosis fit, and it was. She had to distance herself. She had to put boundaries in place. Not boundaries as tough love, like she had to put boundaries in to protect herself. My mum told her to. My dad had to put boundaries in place. I had to stay away from my dad. My mum had bought, like, rented us another place, so I was away, and but I still wouldn't stop. And I remember my mum coming to see her, and she was white, she was gone, and she was just like, it's done. And it was, I'd had worse rock bottoms. That sounds unselfish, but I'd died. I'd been tortured. I'd lived a life of chaos. I'd bankrupt loads of times. I'd spent everything around us. I'd destroyed everyone's life. I'd never had a relationship. Everything I touched, I destroyed. It was all, my life was just 25 years since I was 20 of pure bullshit. And then it was just like a series of rock bombs all locked into one. And my own mother was standing in front of us. And she wasn't joking. She wasn't saying it for impact. My mum was gone. And she says, Gavin, I'm done. She says, that's it for me now. And she says, you can come with us, you can fuck off. She says, I don't give a shit. She says, I'm going, I'm ending my life now. And I remember this my mum's only a little beautiful woman, and she wouldn't stop, and she was driving. My mum's head had gone, and something clicked in my fucking brain, and it was just like, fuck. And it was just like, when people talk about rock bottoms, I thought it would be death. I thought it would be overdoses. I thought it would be car. I thought it would be like losing everything. For me, it was the look on my mum's face, and it was that was it for me. It was just something snapped. It was just like boom, and I looked at her and I said, "Mum, I'm done." And she goes, "She'd heard it." I'd said it that many times. I'd cried it. I'd cried wolf that many times, and I'd say, "Mum, I'm coming with you." She says, "I'm done. I need help." And we did everything properly. This is the point I got. It was like, I wanted recovery, and the change in my head and me thinking, what do I need? I went back and I begged the counsellor to take us back to my trauma therapist. She took us on under conditions that I did a drug test every single week. She took us on for that way. I was still under probation. I got a letter. I was going to go back to see. I had to go back to court because I'd missed my probation that many times, and I begged and begged. I didn't just want recovery. I fought for recovery, and it was like I lost Amy, I lost my mum, I lost my dad, I lost my stepdad, and even one of my best mate, Wayne, was like, he's like a brother to us, and he's always there whenever I need him. He's always there, like I am for him. But he was ringing us up, and he was just like, "You're gonna die. You've got to fucking stop." And they're the people who care about. They're the people who I care about in this life, and I chose. And it's so hard because when your choice is removed, you hit that point when consequences, when everything just gets above a certain point, and it was just like as quick as it was when it flipped on, that I couldn't stop using. I wanted drugs that much. It was just like, "Dude, I'm done," and that's when I stopped.
Yeah.
And I fought for recovery. That's when I finished my book off, because my book I'd been writing this plan to write my book, but I'd never finish it. I was kept on telling everyone, "Oh, it's coming out, it's coming out." I couldn't even fucking finish a chapter. I had the idea all along, and it's weird how timing works, how life works, is about, if my book came out 5 years ago, it would be shit, it would be a piece of shit talking about parties and drugs. And I had to stay clean though. I knew a rehab, recovery, I needed more. I needed to know about every single type of trauma therapy, what it does, how it works in your brain, what structure it's got, what therapy goes around, how is that going to help me. I needed to know about the brain, about the frontal lobe, about the frontal cortex, about why does dopamine work like that, why do the receptors stop working. I spent 6 months to 9 months intense researching myself, by myself. My mum got us this beautiful caravan in the middle of Stanhope, which is like a big countryside, and there's nothing around. And I sat there, I wrote my book, I researched the shit. I was only allowed out to see my trauma therapist. I did meetings online for connection with other addicts. I fought and lived recovery like I've never done in my life, because of the love I had for me. Not the love I had for, yeah, it is, it's for the love I had for me mum. And knowing that I could accept that my disease was going to kill me. I was okay with that. I didn't care about life. But when I knew it was going to kill me mum, something snapped. And that's when I went into doing what I did. And I studied this disease. I studied the science behind it. I studied everything around it, the facts, not just people's belief or opinion. I needed to know facts. I spoke to people from Norway. I spoke to people from Canada, people who were way ahead about the neuroscience behind this disease, and that's what I had to do, because my disease was that fucking powerful, that intense, that killing. I needed the best, so that's what I did, and since then I've never looked back.
That's great. And I mean, I think that's the only time when you really will get sober or clean, is when you really want to. Doesn't matter what other people say, but when something inside you really decided, okay, this is it now, I've had enough, I need to come clean or sober, I think that's when you really see it change, you know?
It has to be, and there's no ifs. You're totally right there. There's no ifs and bits about that. You can't love someone into recovery. You can't force someone into recovery. The only person who can give recovery is themselves, and they've got to want it. And it's so hard. It's like when someone's choice is removed, how do they want it? There's no way. All you can do is support someone. you can love them with boundaries. And when I say love with boundaries, my mum and me fiance do a lot of talks and posts on this, and it's like boundaries aren't there for the addict or to protect the addict. Boundaries are put in place for the family members or the loved ones to protect themselves away from this disease. They still love the addict. They still can love them unconditionally from a distance and be there when they're ready to support them in recovery. But if you give an addict cash, he's not spending it on food or on parking tickets or on anything else he's lied to you about, or tyres or car breaking down or train fares. An addict's not spending on that. It doesn't matter what you give an addict, he's spending it straight on drugs. And that's an addict and active user, I mean. But like, you can't love someone into recovery, you can't hate them into recovery, you can't force them into recovery, you can't make them the only thing that works is the rock bottom for me, and that rock bottom is built up of consequences in life. You've got to put in boundaries to protect yourselves, which hopefully forces the addicts into severe consequences. Then hopefully them consequences will become that much the addict has nowhere but to hit rock bottom, and after rock bottom hopefully he actually fights for recovery, and that's the only time for me it works.
Now, what was the hardest part of getting clean for you?
Getting clean is easy, because I'd hit me rock bottom, so my drugs was stopped. I gave all my cards back to my mum. I had no money around us, so the getting clean is the hard bit. What's hard is staying clean, because the voices in your head come back, the cravings come back, the obsession around it comes back, and I'd be sitting there. My heart would be. I can remember every single day was the same. It calms down after about 5 days. It doesn't stop, but it calms down. My chest would be fucking beating through my heart would be beating through my chest like a fucking drum. My fucking mind would be flying round a million miles an hour. My skin would be on fire. I couldn't sit still. I was irritable. I was scratching all the time. I was up and down, up and down. I was paranoid. I was anxious. I was depressed. It was fucking insane when it was like this. But because I had no drugs in us, it was just cravings. Cocaine is of the mind of the brain. Your body doesn't come dependent on cocaine, but your mind is lost with it. I had to just go through all these fucking cravings. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
And did you relapse again, or was that
since that one? That was the last time I took drugs.
Wow.
I'd relapsed last time I was with Amy, when I was engaged with, when I was with her last time. I relapsed around Amy, and I relapsed around my mum. I was injecting cocaine around. I died in Amy's arms. Fucking my dad's found us dead. The amount of times I've overdosed and been in hospital is insane. It's just, you don't give a shit.
Was this after you've come clean, when you told your mom?
No, that was the last time.
So that was the last time. So did you have to change your environment then, and the people around you?
I had to, mate. I had to. But it's not about changing the environment. It's about once I'd had my rock bottom, I wanted to change everything. I don't get us wrong. I've still got some friends who use drugs, who I've got a lot of respect and time for. But I don't want to be around that environment anymore. Yeah. I don't want to be around, can I go to a pub? Yes, of course I can go to a pub, but I don't want to, because do I drink, even though alcohol's not my drug of choice, do I drink alcohol? No, because if I start drinking alcohol, my head will drop and I'll end up on the phone with you, like we were talking about before. But I don't want to go and sit around a noisy pub. I'd rather go shopping with Amy or for a walk with the dogs with my mum. I'd rather go and spend time with my dad. I spend a lot of time now helping addicts and families of addicts. That's where I get a lot of pleasure. But even with that, I've got to be careful about how much time I do that a day, because it can take over my head as well. I can use that as a pleasure. I've got to be careful.
So what does a normal day look like to you now?
I spend about 4 hours sleep. I only get about 4 hours sleep a day, which is good for me. I can live on that. I get up at 4. Me and Amy go to the gym. That's where I get a little fix of dopamine, natural fix of dopamine for the day, and then and then it's back to I do between 1 and 2 posts a day on my TikTok and on my social media, and it's one's about that, one's for the addict and one's for the family addicts. There's me, mum and Amy do different posts, and I get between anywhere from 750 to 1500 messages and comments a day. So I spend my day getting back to people. I spend my day helping families who are severe traumatized mess, not helping them personally, guiding them to where the best help is for them. I can't take on, or it'd be unfair to the families, it'd be unfair to me to try, and I can't help everyone. I can tell them what not to do. I'm meant to fucking up in life. I'm meant to singing in the speaks. I'm meant about talking about relapses because I've done it that many times. But my recovery path is for me. It's an individual plan I designed for me, with trauma and mental health combined into a 13-step program, which has purpose at the end. And but I can point family members in the right direction. I can listen to them and talk to them the best I can. But I thought it would be a few hours a day, and it's exploded that much with my book that I'm helping some. I'm trying my best to point people in the right direction.
So would you say drugs has become a huge problem in today's day and age?
80 to 90% of addiction uses drugs as a solution to cope with the disease. And it's insane. The amount of deaths in this country, if you combine the drug use, the drug deaths, the suicides through death, then stuff like liver cirrhosis, heart disease, brain disease, all these through, which is caused by the actual drugs and alcohol, it's the biggest killing disease in the country, and it's one of the biggest killing diseases. It's in the top 3 killing diseases in the world. It's insane.
And do you think there's sufficient help in the UK?
Nowhere near. It's not just about sufficient help. There's not a sufficient awareness. The help is not. Everyone puts the thing that pisses it off is about 95% of rehabs now are all businesses. They're not charitable organisations. They're all making money off this disease, which is doing me head in. Which, fair enough, it's a business that makes money, but the programs themselves aren't enough. The programs have to change. The structure, a lot of I mean, there is some, I don't get us wrong, there is some amazing programs coming up now, but a lot of them work on a program designed in the 1930s, which, yes, it works great for certain like just addiction or just alcoholism, but when you chuck in mental health and you chuck in this, we need more. But the thing is though, it's not about, why do we just have to put up with that? Neuroscience, decades of brain scans, the other like amount of help there is out there, which Norway is flying at the minute. Canada's top of the research at the minute. Why we wouldn't treat another disease with things we know in the 1930s? Wouldn't treat cancer with the medicine we had in the 1930s? Why we're treating addiction the same way in this country? And it needs to change. And it doesn't need completely changing. It just needs things added to it. Structured therapy, structured trauma therapy. It needs other things added to it because it's not working. And it's not just my opinion. It's not working.
It's proven.
It's proven with the facts of. If you look at the facts around prison at the minute, the people who come out of jail for drug use for that scenario, the percentage of them going back into jail through addiction alone is insane. But have we passed the point now where we can't help enough people? No, we can't. We need more help around people with this disease, but we need more help around awareness of kids at school now. We need to. Mental health needs to be looked at more, kids in school. If I'd known the mental health I had as a child, I can't say if I would or wouldn't have took drugs. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But what I can say, I would have had such a better chance of knowing if I had the mental health I had now and we had things in place. We need to create more awareness for children. We need to let them know what's coming down the road for them. But drugs is that glamorized now. Every TV show you watch, drugs is glamorized. It's just insane.
It's like all by design.
Alcohol is one of the most horrendous solutions people use to the disease of addiction. I mean, you're dependent on it. Your body's dependent on it. It fucks your head so much. and it's one of the most dangerous substances to come off. I mean, I've drank alcohol a little bit, but I've never. I mean, I'm teetotal now, and I'll never touch alcohol or drugs. But like, even when before I knew about all this, I wasn't a big alcohol drinker. But I've seen some people lost in being an alcoholic, and it was one of the most horrendous things I've ever seen. Just when they're trying to come off it, and then there's not much awareness around that, because when I've been speaking to people, they go, right, my husband stopped drinking alcohol now, and I'm like, fuck, and I said, and I'm like, straight, they are the messages I'll jump straight on, because it's so dangerous to just stop drinking alcohol. When you've drank a bottle of vodka a day every single day, if you just stop, the fit you'll have, how dangerous it is for your body, it's insane. There's not much, there's no awareness around it for the normal public.
It's exactly what happened to me, having that fit seizure thing.
It's fucking insane, man. It's awful, and when you see it, it's like a psychosis fit as well. When you see someone having a fit coming off alcohol, you can be just walking down the street hours after you've stopped drinking alcohol, and you just have a fucking fit. It's so dangerous.
So what keeps you grounded today?
Purpose. I stay connected to recovery, but having just recovery in my life, I needed purpose as well. And when I wrote my book, me and my mum, I didn't think it was going to go like it did, but it's like, from my book, my social media came, and just having purpose and helping other addicts. I do talks in jails now. I help. Actually, I'm helping a couple of trauma therapists see trauma from a different side, and we're introducing a lot more trauma into the jails in Wales. Hopefully it's going to branch out a lot more into the UK. I'm an ambassador for the Forward Trust, where we go around and do talks in the different jails.
Nice.
And the different rehabs they've got. But it's just having purpose. For me, I want to make a difference on this disease, whether it's awareness, whether it's changing the system, changing the government. I went through that many relapses, that many deaths, that many suicide attempts, that much destruction in my life. It hasn't been for nothing. The amount of amazing feedback I get off it's about the families. I'll never ever be able to give back the years I've lost to the people around us. Not just my family, people who I've caused chaos with in my life. Lives are destroyed. Will I get round and will I be able to make amends to everybody? No, I won't, because it's not about jumping the gun and running and making amends to someone. Will I make amends when I see the people I need to? Yeah. But I can't give it all the time back, especially to me mum, me dad, and my stepdad, and there's certain other people I can't give it back to. But what I can do is make a difference in the families out there who are starting off on this road. I can help other families out, so that the shit and the chaos and the pain I've caused my family has meaning to it in some sick way. Do you know what I mean? It gives purpose to the disease I've had, to the pain and suffering I've caused everyone around us. It gives purpose to that if I can do it to make a change and make a difference in other people's lives.
And why did you call the book The Devil's Diary of an Addict?
No, it's called the Devil Diary of an Addict. So the devil to me is like, it's just a frame. It's just like good and evil or good and bad. It's like, it was just the devil. People call it the devil's dust. People call it the devil's powder. It's just a word.
So it specifically more leans towards cocaine, like devil's dandruff or devil.
Devil's the king of hell. That's what we're taught to believe.
Is that who the devil represents in your story?
The devil, it's just, yeah, it was like I was living in hell. I was literally living it. My life is being hell. It looks great from the outside, but people only see. And it's just, I was living in hell for the last 25 years. Even before I took my drug, I couldn't control life. At least it wasn't hell. It was manageable, but it was, since I started taking drugs, my life has been living in hell. And that's where the phrase the devil comes from.
Is the book based on real moments from your life?
No, the book is a memoir. It's a full memoir, so the book starts off when I died. But the best thing about this book is my disease destroyed my family. I couldn't. I'd tried reading all these books when I was in recovery, or when I was trying to get clean, or when I was just interested. I was just trying to write, and it was always about the addict, or there was someone, a family member, writing about what they thought the disease was or what they went through. So I wanted a dual voice memoir. I wanted each chapter to have my side, my truth, and then at the end of each chapter is my mum's reflection, her truth, what she went through. So it starts off when I'm dead, and then it comes back to my childhood. It starts off when I died in hospital, but it comes back to my childhood, and then it just goes through my life. So it's a memoir of my full life, and it's each chapter has my side and my mum's side. So a parent and loved ones of addicts can read the book, and they can see the similarities of what my mum was going through, but they can also see what the addict was feeling. And likewise with an addict, the addict can read the book and they'll see what they went through with similarities to me, but they'll also see and read and feel what their parents or what they're putting their loved ones through. So it's a dual voiced memoir of mine and my mum's life story, and it's been fucking insane.
And was it difficult reliving those experiences while writing the book?
Yeah, when I got clean over a year ago, this was like when I first got clean. This was about 16 months ago, and I've been in and out of recovery for the last 12 years, trying my best, not succeeding, relapse after relapse. Each relapse gets worse and worse. The progression is just insane with every relapse. But I wasn't using the relapse as what it should be. I wasn't looking at what's not healed. But with each relapse, it was just insane. But when I got myself clean, before my last relapse, I was writing the book, and I left out me chapter on my trauma. And when I wrote the trauma chapter, that's the only bit that was too much for us. So I relapsed on that. It was mad, but luckily it was a 3-hour relapse, and it was just 3-day relapse, and I was gone, and I was straight back, and that's when my mum came and seen us. I died in Amy's arms. I was lost for 3 days, and my mum came and she was gonna kill herself. So that was my last time. Wow. And then when I wrote the book, the trauma chapter again, I did it while my trauma therapist was on standby, and but it's about learning. So when you relapse, it's about not looking at the relapse full of shame. It's about looking what's not healed. A relapse is just information. It tells you what's not healed yet. It shows you what you need to work on. I always looked at relapse as shame, or as weak, or as strong. Fuck that. If I'm going into a meeting connecting with other addicts, these are the people I want to hear from. These are the people I want to talk to, because I'm still, you never know enough in recovery. I'm always learning every day. I'm always researching. I'm always connecting, and I need that, because I know how powerful my disease of addiction is. I know my disease is fucking training its arse off, waiting for me to be weak. So the moments I'm weak, that's when I've got to connect. I don't go to meetings when I'm happy, and I need consistency. My recovery has to be consistent. It was, apart from that one chapter, it was so emotional, because I was writing my chapter, and my mum was writing her chapter, and then we're sitting going through it together, and it was like a bonding of like, and it was like sitting there listening to my mum's side, listening to my side. It was like 6 months of complete bonding between the two of us, working through my life, where I'd gone wrong, where my mum had no fault of her own had gone wrong, where my disease comes in, the things we'd missed. It was one of the most rewarding times in my life. But it was hard. I'm not going to lie and say it was easy. It was hard.
And do you forgive yourself for the things you did during your addiction?
I've had to forgive myself. I was just a passenger. I know people say, "No, you're just chucking it. You're not taking it." I have took responsibility for everything I've done. I've made amends to everyone who had to be done immediately. People who need extra time until they are ready for me to give them amends, that's okay too. Sometimes I've made amends to people and told them to go fuck myself, and that's okay too. I'm keeping my side of the street clean. I have forgiven myself because it's a disease, and it's as simple as that. And people can jump in, addiction's not a disease, fuck yous, because it's medical fact now. It's not an option or opinion anymore. It's medical fact. It's an incurable chronic brain disease by medical fact, by neuroscience, neurological brain scans. It is medical fact now. It's not up for discussion anymore. So I had a disease. I was lost. I was a passenger. I was fucked. I was took against my will, and I suffered so much. If I'd been out partying every night, on a holiday every night, living how people think you live on the disease of addiction, I was fucking in a prison.
And do you think addiction ever fully leaves your body?
Never. It's incurable. There's no cure for addiction, but you can manage it. You can manage it daily. So there is no cure for addiction. But you manage it daily with it could be everything. It's a structured recovery program with looking after yourself. There's no set routine for anybody. There's a basis of programs, and you find what works for you. I've got no issue with anybody. If you can find recovery, and a good life through a Christian rehab, or you can find it through a 12-step fellowship spiritually, or you can find it through smart recovery, or you can find it through, even if you can find your recovery and you can stay clean for you, fucking great. That works great for you. As long as it works for you, great. For me, I needed fucking everything. And now I needed trauma therapy. I needed my mental health counselling. I needed a structured program. I needed a bit of faith. I needed purpose. I needed guidance. And what works for you might not work for the next person. So I won't judge anybody on their recovery. As long as they're happy, as long as they're clean, fucking great. But and if people want to judge me on mine, if people want to judge me on my beliefs, great. Judge us on my beliefs, but don't judge us on the facts, on the medical facts. It's the most rewarding, amazing thing getting clean has ever done. And I would rather sit around with someone who's who's had a fucked up life, someone who's been through fucking hell itself and walked in through hell. I'd rather sit and have a conversation with them when they're clean. I'd trust them. I'd trust with a person who's lived the darkest days. I'd rather sit and I'd rather trust them than some fucking flying businessman, than someone who hasn't got a structured routine, who hasn't fucking walked the path we've walked. Do you know what it is? We get judged as addicts through this disease. We get judged on the substances we used. We get judged on the lifestyle we had no control of. And if you want to judge us on that, I couldn't give a fuck. But that's your look on life. I will help. I've seen people who have had the worst, most horrendous prison sentences, people who have lived the most horrendous crimes in addiction, but then them same people are fucking helping other fucking addicts. Them same people have done their time in jail and they're out now and they're helping other people in recovery. They're helping the homeless. They're doing all these things for pittances. And they're the people I trust in this world, and I'd rather have a conversation with them and spend time with them than fucking someone who's fucking ripping tax off governments and all this shit and selling all this shit. It's not for me.
And do you think someone who hasn't lived it can truly understand it?
Unless you've lived in the disease of addiction, unless you've had your choice removed, unless you've fucking truly fucking used against your will, and I don't mean using against will, or I've had enough now, I'm going to stop. When I used to stick pins in my arm, crying my eyes out, begging God or whatever was out there fucking for help, when I fucking literally tried to fucking, when I've self-harmed myself to death just to fucking have severe pain in my body, just so then hopefully the pain will take the noise away or the drugs away from my head. Unless you've lived a prison in your mind, not being able to control anything, unless you've lived that prison in your head, no, you'll never know what it's like being an addict. But also on the flip side, and I've never been this way, and I can never understand what my mum went through, or my dad went through, or my stepdad went through, or what Amy goes through. I've never I've never held a loved one in my arms while the overdose or when hit a psychosis fit. I've never had someone die right next to us through, and when you've been trying to help them. I'll never know what it's like to be in a family or a loved one of an addict's mind either. So it's and this is where the disease takes. It doesn't just take the addict, it takes the fucking family too. And this is where I try and help. This is where I spend a lot of my time helping the family, because they are took into the disease of addiction with no help. They're took against their will. Us as addicts can escape for a moment or two when our fucking own heads, when we're off our faces or whatever our solution is. The family never escapes the pain. I put my family through 25 years of fucking torture. There's moments I can remember, there's moments that are horrific, there's moments that are... But if I look at it from my mum and my dad's point of view, it's been the most horrendous experience of their life. So that's where I try and put my purpose into helping the families now.
And who were you then versus who you are now?
I've been a cunt in my life, I've been selfish, I've been arrogant, I've been egotistic, I've wore every single mask that you look at someone. I used to look at myself, I remember being in my own head, and I used to hate doing what I was doing. When I was using, ripping people off, when I was being a cunt, I was a horrible person. But then I've allowed myself sometimes to just be bullied because I wanted to go through pain. I wanted to be humiliated. I wanted people to talk, and it was just awful. And the person I used to be, you couldn't trust me. You couldn't trust me with nothing. The person I am today, with recovery, with therapy, I fucking love my life today. I would die for my family. I would cut out my own heart for my family. I love my family today, and I love the person I am today. I don't mean I love myself and look at me. I mean I'm happy today. I've never been able to. I've pretended saying those words in the past. I didn't know what emotions were. I am fucking happy with life today. I've got meaning. I've got purpose. I've got a fucking fiance who loves us, and I love her unconditionally. I've got my mum, my dad, and my stepdad in my life. I've got my fucking stepbrother and his wife. I've got Wayne. I've got a couple of other good friends around us who are my fucking family I choose. That's all I need, and I help a lot of people. And do I always get it right? Do I fuck? I sometimes make mistakes still today. I make mistakes, and sometimes I do. The best thing about recovery is all your emotions come back. The worst thing about recovery is all your emotions come back. These are still all emotions to me. Do I get every single emotion right? No, I don't. But I do it to the best of my ability, and I never mean to harm anybody. I will help a stranger in the street. I will give away my last penny. All the profits in my book go to fucking charities. I don't need anything. All I need is a simple life now. I need love, and I need my family, and that's good enough for me. And that's the person I am today. I've went from torturing my family to now my full family, who's around us now, the ones who are still in my life. They trust me unconditionally, because I'm not just the person I was always meant to be. I'm now the person who I was always meant to be, but stronger, because I've got recovery, because I've got purpose, and I've got people around us who genuinely care.
If someone is now stuck in addiction and feels like there's no way out, somebody who's listening now, what would you tell them?
Everyone always gives up before the miracle happens. I was lost. I had no way out. I'd killed myself twice, intentionally. I've overdosed multiple times. I've been in psychosis fits nearly every single day for the last 5 years, reusing. I destroyed everything around us. And I know there's people out there who's been in worse places than me. There's people who've been around there in not as much bad places as me. But it's all about being lost. It's all about we're using a solution to our disease. We're using drugs, alcohol to a disease we can't control, to a disease we can't have no choice of. If you're fucking, I promise you, there's fucking hope. And it's the hardest thing in the world. And sometimes you can't do it. And I'm not going to sit here and say, just pick up the phone and get help. It's not going to happen. When you want help, when you've had enough, there's fucking help here. I promise you, recovery works, but you've got to want it. If you don't want it, it's not going to work. It's impossible. and this is all my truth, but as soon as you want it, fucking recovery works. It doesn't just give you a life, it's given me more than I've ever dreamed of. But it is possible. But if you want recovery, pick up the phone, log on to a meeting, log on to a 12-step fellowship, ring up, go and see your GP, ring the crisis. If you ring 111 and ask for the crisis team, and if say you've had enough, you're close to ending your life, you are fucking done with life, you need help, you need support, the crisis team are fucking unbelievable. They will come out of your house and they'll watch you for the next 5 days, they will give you the support, they'll put you into guidance. There's fucking so many programs and help out there at the minute that will generally help you. The Forward Trust has got teams around as well. There's meetings all the time with NACA, AA. There's so much help out there. You just got to want it.
And can people reach out to you if they want?
If on the 3 platforms I must get between 1,000 and 2,000 messages and comments a day, I get back to 99% of them. I might miss occasional now and again. If I miss one comment again, I get back to every single comment. I'm working about 12 to 14 hours a day on it at the minute, but I'm getting a team around us to help us with all this. If you reach out to me, I promise you, I'll point you. I can't do one-on-one private tuitions. I don't do that. Everything I do is voluntary, but I can point you in the best places. I can point you in the rehabs I know have got a good structure around them and do trauma therapy. I can point you to the right therapy. If you're a family member, a lot of parents read out to us, I can point you the same way as well. It's all about connection, and I'll always get back to everybody.
That's great. And is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you feel you want to tell the people?
I was always shameful of when I got if I got clean, I was always shameful of my past. I was shameful of relapse. I was shameful of not being accepted. Fuck shame. Fuck relapse. Fuck everything. All you can do is be honest. All you can do is tell your truth. If someone doesn't like you for it, fuck them too. But there's people out there who will help you. There's people out there. There's genuine honesty. I used to think the world was against us. I used to think everyone was a cunt. I used to think everyone was just out to destroy us. Everyone either wanted something off us or wanted us users for something. I didn't think there was such a thing as a good person. And do you know what? Since my eyes have been opened, and there's so many good people out there, and I don't mean addicts or just addicts helping addicts. I mean the amount of people I've met in just generally want to help, like trauma therapists who go that extra mile, fucking people who are working for people who are volunteering and working at the Forward Trust, going the extra mile. There's all people from a rehab I went to once, like Jamie and Richard, who fucking they are always a phone call away. There's always someone who generally wants to help you, who don't judge you on your past, who sees underneath that addiction, who sees you for who you are. Don't let people shame you into staying in addiction. Fucking every single person deserves to be clean. Every single person deserves to be heard. What's my truth? Do you agree with it? No, you might not, but share your truth. I'm sharing my truth and I'm sharing medical facts. If you don't like it, instead of commenting and shitting and putting on people's walls about shaming others or doing this or do that, share your truth. It might help someone. And that's all I've got to say on that.
On that note, brother, thank you so much for coming on Dean Taylor podcast. It was absolute pleasure to hear your experience, and you've been through hell and back, and to be able to share this with the people. We know there's a lot of people who are suffering through the same shit. So yeah, hopefully this can help somebody,
Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate
it's absolute pleasure, man.
Our pleasure's mine, bro.
And guys, we will drop his social media in the description. If you want to go check out his pages, TikTok, Instagram, all of that, if you want to reach out to him. And if you like this episode and you want to see more, you know where to find us. Thank you.